Now let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Play ball!
Since joining Manchester City, Pep Guardiola have lost 4 in a row. This is one of the first times you can hear about Pep Guardiola in his whole managerial career. He has not lost 4 in a row in his career, but now this season he lost 4 in a row. But the question is, are City in crisis? Okay, no. So if you look at that game, that question is funny because
City in crisis.
We rarely hear about that.
It will never come to your mind, like
all.
Even while the manager is still on seat. I think 6 titles in 8 years. The first time, I think after 8 years, he won 6 Premier League titles, 2 in a row. Then Liverpool had Jurgen Klopp did his miracle. Then after that, it was 4 in a row again. Now you see that after that 4 in a row, teams are beginning to gear up. It's the Premier League, they won't allow you to do 5 in a row.
But he did 4 in a row.
No, he did 4 in a row because teams were gearing up. The teams that were supposed to gear up and catch up with him did not catch up with him. That's talking about Jurgen Klopp. He was supposed to stop the 3 in a row, but in that season he went on to change the whole midfield setup. And you can't change the whole midfield setup at once and end up winning trophy. So it changed the whole. Liverpool changed, not Jurgen Klopp now. Liverpool changed the whole midfield setup. I like Jurgen Klopp to struggle, and that was why Pep did 4 in a row. But I'm not going to say they didn't do well. In their record, they did well. Arsenal, on the other hand, were trying to fight, but losing in their last 7 games in Arsenal's last 7 games last season, you could see that they were going to lose points. Now that was a point taken already, so it was already a lose for Arsenal in that season. But I felt like it was Jurgen Klopp who could have stopped it, but changing the whole midfield setup was the problem. But now coming into this season,
the last 2 seasons it was Arsenal actually fighting.
Now, you know when I said Jurgen Klopp, because he was the only person that matched him blow for blow for the past 9 years. Now talking about this season. He came into the season, sold some of the couple of players, brought in the old players. I think bringing Gundogan back into that side really sent a wrong message to the players, because after Gundogan left, you brought in the Kovacic, you brought in the Nunes, you brought in credible midfielders that could replace Gundogan, but they were not up to his standards. It's just like Man United bringing in back Ronaldo. You know these players are good, but they're not up to that standard. But for them to get to that standard, they need to put up the work, and many of them will just be like, hey, since he's here, he should continue from where he left off. So that was what I feel, and that was as personal opinion. I feel like that was what happened. Since he's back now, let's continue from where he left off. And you know, his age is no longer on his side. That intelligence he has the intelligence, he has the technical ability, but the pace is no longer on his side. So I think that's what's affecting the team. So everybody is now dropping back, because at this point in time, you could have had players who could replace certain players on the side.
I think
Gundogan's replacement should be available.
Part of the problem is Alvarez, selling Alvarez without replacing him.
Maybe.
Imagine you sold Alvarez and De Bruyne is injured.
Now look at it now. I think that what I was saying was, I think not getting players, because De Bruyne about 30 plus, Gundogan 30 plus. These players should have replacement on the side right now, like what you did with David Silva. You brought in Foden, but I feel like with the game going, with the season going, those players they didn't replace. Actually, if they go out of the team, they are going to have problems.
If you look at, I'm not really even worried about Pep, but if you look at the past,
we're talking about the general
if you look
Premier
at,
League Man City team. But
if you look at the past years, he won the league. At some point, Arsenal was 5 points ahead of him. At some point, Liverpool was 6 points ahead of him. At some point, everybody was almost ahead of him. But once they enter January, February, he picks up pace and he wins probably 15 games in a row, and boom, he wins the league, because there is no way if someone does 15 games in a row, other teams have to drop point at some point. So I don't think Liverpool should rest because they are 5 points ahead of City. You should start fighting more. But generally, if you look at that game, Haaland scored his first goal after a long period spent without scoring goal. But in the second half, what happened? Brighton came out fighting, and they scored 2 goals and won.
Before the game, I told you this Brighton side, they have a young coach, they have a young group of players, they have the energy in their side, they have the pace, they have everything in their side. They have and the worst of all is they have the technical ability. It's not like a team that say, okay, they have this, they don't have this. They are all. You know when I say they have this, you have this. They have. I used to say they are all pace and no brains. Those kind of players exist. But in Brighton, they are all pace and they still have brains. Because you could see this, you could spot the runs from Joao Pedro. You could spot the runs from Mitoma. You could spot the runs from, even though he came in the second half, you could spot the run from Danny Welbeck. You could spot these runs. Okay, Danny Welbeck was once upon a time.
I think he played the whole game.
Manchester United academy graduate, Arsenal icon. You know, he did numbers for other clubs. Now playing for Brighton. These are players that have played in the Premier League. They have pace, they have brains, and they know how to handle the ball. They know how to find themselves in pocket. I think they kind of exploited when they shifted Kyle Walker to the right wing. They kind of exploited him a lot, because that was where they created most of the goals from. You get these guys' runs came from there. and the gap between that player and as in they were always running in between the fullbacks and the centre half. That was where the trap was. But for Kyle Walker, they were not running in between them. They were running outside of Kyle Walker. So if you like, when you can beat Kyle Walker and come into the other side of him, then it's over.
I don't understand what Pep Guardiola is doing in that game, because if you look at it, he has an Ake on the bench, he has an Akanji on the bench, but he decided to play a young boy in that centre defence, that Jay Simpson. What do you make of that? Do you think he likes experimenting? Because sometimes I think he gets bored. At some point in his coaching, he gets bored and he just want to try something new. Because I don't see why for the past 2 games you are introducing a 18-year-old boy to play in your centre defender where you have credible guys on the bench.
The same thing. We're going to go back to that same scenario where we talked about it in Foden. Now Foden is a star. You do that as a coach who sees the potential in the player. You do it. You take risk on young players. Foden was.
You have an Akanji on the bench.
Now you have an Akanji on the bench who's just recovering from injury. You have an Ake who's just recovering from injury. So? You have a player who's been training with the first team for a very long time and training training as a young prospect under the same player. So I think these young players, Rico Lewis. I'm saying Nico now because Nico is Liverpool right back. Rico Lewis coming in to replace Kyle Walker. You've seen him last season. You saw how he plays. He can play as an inverting fullback. You get now. Simpsons this season is his time to shine. You're seeing him coming into the starting lineup gradually. Not that he's going to be starting all the games. So once in a while, you put him in there because you have Diaz, Stone. Many of the defenders are off, so you need them. And according to him, he said they have about 70 games to play. It's like the NBA. That's Pep Guardiola now. It's the NBA, and he doesn't want to put his players at risk. So at this point, you need to bring in some young players to understudy the big men, to understudy the senior team, and perhaps give them the chance to show on the pitch. And I think these are the games you need to show them. They lose, they learn. You lose games, you learn. You win games, you improve.
Okay, now the thing is that do you think that Pep Guardiola can still win this Premier League?
Even himself, at this point, he don't lose hope for himself. Because if you listen to what he said yesterday, he said,
after doing 5 in a row, after winning six titles
in 7 years, somebody else might win it, but we are not tired.
Yes,
we are going to continue to fight. That's the mentality. The end of the statement is the mentality, but at the point, what he is saying is everybody are fighting for the title. Arsenal is fighting, Chelsea is fighting, Liverpool is fighting, and Ancelotti now 5 points ahead, no with losing games. You get. He will continue to build.
Game now.
No, not losing games. You understand what I mean? Yes, just losing 1 game in 11 games. He got beaten against Aston Villa. You know that he will continue to build on this win because he knows who is chasing after him. It's just like saying somebody is chasing after you with cutlass. You can stand and fight. You get, or you can run, leave and fight another day. But when the person is chasing after you with AK-47 and the rest of them, bro, just run for your life. Just disappear. Leave the neighborhood. Disappear from the surface of the earth because he will definitely get you. Or maybe somebody is chasing you with a sniper. At some point, they will get you. No matter how you hide and take cover, they will get you. But for him now, they're chasing after him with cutlass. He should continue running.
Let's talk about that winning goal, O'Reilly. What do you make of that? Because the way City considered that goal, Pep Guardiola will be furious about this defense, how they considered that winning goal. And you could see Haaland was screaming like he couldn't believe
at the equalizer. He was screaming at the equalizer, but at the winning goal, he was dumbfounded. Like, how did that happen? Because at the equalizer, look at what happened now. What's it called? Lewis got the ball. Rico Lewis got the ball. I won't lie, but he fell on the floor. Now you want to take a sliding tackle, you fall on the floor. You safeguard the ball with the middle of your leg, or maybe you sit on the ball so they don't want to kick you. The referee can at least come to your your rescue. But he didn't. Now he lost the ball in that second. It was like a fight, a slugfest, a fight fest between the defenders and the attackers, and nobody was given the opportunity to play the ball because this guy's position on the ball wasn't really good, and the ball just slipped away by a knack. And for this guy to notice that, like, he has the instinct of they are definitely going to lose this ball in these areas, and he pounced on it, keeping himself onside off Kyle Walker at his back. Now, for the other goal, for Matt O'Reilly's goal, I felt like they were hard done by allowing the midfield that run. You get, the midfielders were not tracking back to cover the spaces. That was the mistake they made. First of all, I'm not going to fault the defenders, and not spotting the run because it was still from the same Kyle Walker's end, from the right wing, not spotting that run between Guardiola and Simpsons. They didn't spot the run of O'Reilly, and after the build-up play from João Pedro and all of the other players, it was just a small pass, and before the goalkeeper could react, it was just by his side under his arm, and I felt like it was one of those goals that you say it was well deserved. And he after the game, he said he didn't even know what to feel like. He didn't know if he should feel happy or if he should feel angry because Pep even came out to say about the defenders, John Van Herken, that they did well. Because I think if you look at I'm looking at the general transfer window, like, I think Van Herken we should be heading to Man City because of the long conversation they had. It was a good game. He had a way of stopping the Man City attack, and he had a way of creating chances ahead of Man City's midfield. It was just that pace. I think in this game, the only person that had that pace and energy to run that game was Kovacic in that midfield. And for me, for Man City yesterday, it was only Kovacic that had pace. But for the goal, I felt it was well deserved, well planned. The pace was just off top notch.
Okay, for a very long time in his career, he has lost 4 games in a row. I'm talking about Pep Guardiola. I don't think probably he himself cannot even remember the last time that happened to him. But this thing happens in football. Sometimes you play, you are on the high. Sometimes you have a small dip, then you rise up again. But nobody is worried. I don't think Pep should be worried about this being 5 points behind Liverpool, because he has done it before. He has been way more off the title race, but he came back to win that title. Okay, Brighton won that game 2-1. Haaland scored the first goal, and Brighton came out and scored 2 goals in 5 minutes to win that game. Let's see what Pep is going to be doing, the way he's going to ginger his players, motivate his players to win this title. Remember, De Bruyne is back, so after the international break, he will be starting. So let's see where they will pick up from. Let's see if he's going to do a comeback again in the Premier League. Last 2 seasons, he did that against Arsenal. Last season, he fought against Arsenal and won. This season, probably is Slot. Let's see if he's going to fight against Slot and win this title to do 5 in a row.